Bonjour et ce soir. Je m'appelle Troublemaker, and this is the Wargame Cup. Hi Eugen Systems, thanks for putting on this tournament. Today we have a pack versus pack match between Angry Squirrel and a Monsieur G.Loomes. So, what can we say about these two players? Well, nothing really about Angry Squirrel. We don't really know much about him. Mr. G.Loomes, we've seen a little bit of him. I always like to see more of him. Obviously favoring this tank style. He uses these artillery units as a spray style, so he'll use them for the stun and then come in and sweep in with his tanks. An older style, still very good. From Angry Squirrel, we're seeing 3 command numbers going out. Very, very greedy play, and it might get punished by G.Loomes. We'll see. Generally speaking, I like players who like to punish. If you don't punish plays, you can get swamped pretty easily by just a lot of forces. And getting an extra command is not a solution by itself, because your opponent is just likely to get another command if you don't punish him. So we'll see whether or not G.Loomes will bring in the torture, bring in the punishment, because his opponent's going to be about 200 points down in units. His opponent's actually so greedy. Whoa. His opponent is so greedy. He is going to take the middle location. He's going to take Golf. And he's going to take Charlie. That's really, really, really greedy. If you're going to have 3 commands, you should take like Alpha, Charlie, and Delta, or Delta and Golf. Not the middle location that you're going to have all your enemy's units going towards. And here we go. Like, can he punish him enough? Lots of infantry here. Here comes the artillery barrage used to stun units so that his attacks are more prominent and actually doing significant amounts of damage. Angry Squirrel, though, taking a very big lead from this botched attack. There is some Tunguska here, going to provide a little bit of cover fire. The gunship helicopters are sniping away at these anti-infantry vehicles, but just not enough of these Motostrelki. Tanks firing on this group of Motostrelkis right here that has been stunned, and we see 4 BTR Zalos unaccompanied trying to do some damage on this flank as well. And it looks very botched. G.Loomes just got a pretty significant kill, though, putting him up to 210 points. The Zalo continuing to do damage. He's bringing in the infantry. Spoo might just go down. And there are 40 Mott Schutzens in the woods here, so lots of infantry coming out of Angry Squirrel. All turtled up and ready for pretty much any kind of all-in. And the commander is just going to sit here for a little bit of time, waiting for things to more or less stabilize. And we have Motostrelki coming in against Mott Schutzens. There is a UAZ command vehicle here. He's got to bring in this anti-infantry vehicle with him, though, if he's want to make any kind of splash here, because the Mott Schutzens will just tear apart this Motostrelki squad. And here he goes, the BTR-65 coming in afterwards. Once the focus fire target has been selected, doesn't want to lose these 2 AoE grenade fire, but that looks like exactly what's going to happen right now, as everything's very clumped up. First round of grenades will go off, and actually he's lost vision. No, he's stunned. There is a gunship helicopter here from Angry Squirrel picking apart at these BTR-65s. The command armor is actually going to get pulled back. That's how scared he is of these Zalos. The Zalos are coming in and dealing damage to whatever they can. We have 2 infantry being pulled back by Angry Squirrel. It's getting picked off by Tunguskas, and he might lose too much here. The Tunguskas actually petering away at these Motostrelkis quite effectively. The Zalos are getting chewed apart by these Mott Schutzens, however. It might give a pretty significant lead off to Angry Squirrel, and that will be the case. Boom! 1 more Zalo to go, and we might see an Angry Squirrel lead. Tunguskas do fairly well against these Motostrelkis because they can kite and they can move away. The Tunguska has a very, very large range, but Motostrelki finally in range, not being kited back, and we get a rocket fire complete miss. And here we go, it's being routed. It's not being microback, it's being routed. Intense action so far as G.Loomes tries to get a significant advantage in the game. The battle for the middle is not over. However, it looks like Angry Squirrel is fermenting his position as he moves infantry forward. There's really not a lot left for G.Loomes in this middle location. Everything he has there is necessary for defending it. An income advantage will go to G.Loomes, however, because he has secured more locations longer. And actually, with the anti-aircraft unit fire here, we're going to see G.Loomes falling behind again. Angry Squirrel getting unlucky hits from this artillery, and it's roughly even. G.Loomes with just a 10-point lead. After these Motor Shulkies die, he should get probably another 20 points. But not a significant lead that's impossible to come back for. And this is exactly what Angry Squirrel wants. He wants to be in a scenario where he's not losing by a lot, and he's not winning by a lot. He has put it the extra command armor, which means that he does have less units on the map, and he's doing very, very well with less units. Now, Spetsnaz are moving in for a snipe on the command armor here, and they do get a single rocket off, and they might get a second one off. Let's see. I'm sure it's going for the UAZ, though. And he just peel away this location, and this is now a location that Angry Squirrel will not be able to get. He's forced to pull back to Alpha, at which point he will be working at not a lot of resources. So let's talk about artillery. I do not favor artillery as part of your opener unless it's on a thin map. This is not a thin map. This is a wide map. What I like about artillery is that they have this stun effect. When they hit things, it completely drops all morale for the enemy, and they stun the enemy. So if your artillery can be used towards that respect, they can do very, very well, but they're very timing specific things. There's also kinds of artillery. Like, I don't really like this Malka. I like this Malka at endgame because it's got cheap, effective ammunition against infantry, and that's what you really have at the end of the game. I prefer using infantry, or using tanks, or using helicopters, or using anti-tank weapons, because they will have more bang, they're more directed, they're more focused. Artillery kind of just luck. And yeah, artillery can win the game for you. By the way, Tunguska's going to die here. That's a huge point win for G.Loomes. I just don't think that luck is good enough. I like getting lucky. I get lucky all the time. Maybe lucky if I got lucky more often. But you don't want to base a strategy around getting lucky. That's just terrible. G.Loomes is actually doing very, very well here. He's actually taken another position here. He's going to completely liberate Charlie. Keep in mind the Tunguska is out of ammunition and will not be able to deal with helicopters effectively anymore. And this commander is forced to actually completely retreat, and this could signal a very scary end of game for Angry Squirrel, who, like many players who have been dropped to the tournament, getting very greedy. And one of the unfortunate things with the format of the tournament is that for the first 3 or 4 rounds of this tournament, which has taken place over a month, you've been facing some very inferior opponents, and you've been getting away with a lot of very crappy builds. And the downside is that people who haven't been playing the game for a significant amount of time, and who don't have great practice partners, have been doing very poorly, and people with great practice partners are moving on. And so, like, a lot of surviving this tournament will have to do a lot with social networking. If you can get to know heavy hitters and practice with them and prepare for builds in a mutual way, that is not when you're facing them, like, you'll do a lot better. And of course, the people who love the game, the people who played the game, the people who stayed loyal to the game are going to do a lot better. We're going to see a final push here, looks like, by Angry Squirrel. He has lots of tanks, some armored personnel carriers that are empty, and 2 Tunguskas coming with his push. And this is a fairly potent push. We're seeing a lot of anti-infantry vehicles, lots of tanks, and lots of anti-aircraft. Of course, the key unit missing here, of course, is the anti-tank weapon, which will be used for just torching things like this TO-55, which there are a lot here, actually, and some of these tanks. The helicopters will instantly go down through the Tunguska, so they have to be microed very effectively. And will he right-click on it with the Tunguska? He does. Helicopter down. And now here we go. He's got to drop infantry on the right locations. This is not the right location. Good choice to continue pushing forward. And unfortunately, all his infantry are fried by flamethrowers. Now, let's look at what happened here. It's important to note that he cannot engage this. If he dropped his infantry here, the battle would not last long. The choice is to either stop here and get a few points, or rush forward and go for a kill. Stopping here is not an option. It's not an option because you die in seconds. Continuing on was really the only option because it's a luck-based option. It's in hopes that your vehicles will be able to survive and get some damage done. It's kind of a shitty situation. These tanks, these cheap tanks, by the way, are all getting peeled off. The Tunguskas are out of ammunition and are retreating. Looks like the last ditch of Angry Squirrel is out, and G.Loomes is firing with these T-55s on the support vehicle, just clearing out wherever he can. He's going to slowly move forward, and then he's going to go for another round of artillery and push forward. A third base here taken by Angry Squirrel, not defended at all, and actually, and it's not really something that I've seen G.Loomes do a lot. He could switch to helicopters and just completely finish the matchup very, very quickly. There's not really a lot of anti-air on the map. There are some Tunguskas, which are pronounced with an Asian Tunguska. And yeah, G.Loomes, it's just a pretty standard, safe victory for G.Loomes. Doing very, very well. Just using counters to beat counters. Small focused attacks. Nothing crazy all-in-ish. Just slowly eating away at his opponent. And he's going to just continue doing this. He hasn't really expanded through this. He's just been using his 2 bases worth of income. He has seen no reason to move this location over to Echo. That's something I would have done a long time ago. And he's been really dealing with a lot of limited units here. He has created a flank around this location, and his opponent is going in for some helicopters. Of course, there is so much anti-air units here that this will not be a threat. There is a Smirch here, however. 2 Smirches that are unused. They can do a significant damage. Of course, Smirches used to be the overpowered vehicle in the game, but now not so much. And here we go. T-55 is going to hit the Scott. As the helicopter winds up, the Strat is going to do some crazy damage. And this is like one of the biggest weaknesses in the game. Helicopters absolutely die to anti-air. Like, they don't get a chance to micro. They just die. And so it makes helicopters a very, very vulnerable unit. And to people asking for helicopters to get nerfed, you have to realize like, they are a very vulnerable unit. It took 1 hit, and it's down to 25% health. There's no other unit in the game where you get the most expensive form of it, and it goes down to 25% health after 1 hit. It doesn't look like G.Loomes is going to try and finish this quickly. This is going to be really a slow move. He sees no need to risk anything. A command armor is going to go get moved, however, by Angry Squirrel, who's trying to stay in this. More helicopters coming out. Some of these T-55s and focus fire on this tank. Its tank is down, or the command armor, sorry. Command armor down to 33% health as he continues to push forward. Keep in mind, he does have lots of anti-air support. He's barraging with this high amount of artillery. He should have moved forward, of course, to swipe the FOB so he can refuel this poor BTR-60 Pi, which unfortunately doesn't have a ton of great stuff. And whoa, cavalry tanks coming out. Now we're looking at the finishing moves here by G.Loomes. He's putting out the expensive stuff. And it looks like these T-55 should get picked off by this AMV-1, but he is doing a little bit of hide and go seek right now, and he actually steals the oh my god, why would you do that? Oh, Angry Squirrel succeeds the FOB off to G.Loomes, who's able to immediately restock his ammunition and actually get the kill. With the new ammunition, he's able to get the kill, and he has the FOB now, which means that he'll be able to deal an infinite amount of damage. The command armor's getting pulled back, running away in total fear. I might have just broken my keyboard. Oops. T-55s coming in, getting supported by the Tunguska, and the Tunguska wants to restock its vital rockets. It goes down though, and here comes the Smirch doing a round of fire and a helicopter. Might be able to get this T-55. The Strat goes down, and looks like Angry Squirrel will live to fight another day. And here comes a lot of helicopters. Speaking of G.Loomes never gets helicopters, here comes the helicopters, and he's pushing back this location as well simultaneously. Looks like he needs to restock this before he can push this location. But last, Tunguska not doing so well against tanks. Not the best trade. And he still doesn't have the FOB. I guess recons can't, with weapons can't get FOBs. He's going to try and get this Przik Igla into this building here. This is kind of crazy and kind of risky. Probably not worth the move. The cavalry tanks are not here yet. Maybe they oh, here they come along this back flank, and more infantry are desperately getting moved in for Angry Squirrel. He still can actually win this. He has to make up a 600-point deficit, and that's kind of scary for G.Loomes, who very much has this right now. If he makes enough mistakes, he can actually still lose. Kind of weird and scary. And Gigla taking on a Tunguska, and this should be a surefire win for the Tunguska. Tunguska, of course, are one of the most expensive anti-air units in the game, but also one of the most effective. They're one of the few anti-air units that actually have 2 weapons, so very much worth their cost. Artillery fire pounding dislocation, which is very heavy on infantry. And this is very focused, very good use of units. He has these units being routed and stunned, all the while there is a tank here, which is completely empty, peeling away at these infantry. And here comes a flank of infantry coming along the back. Will be able to get this T-62 tank. And this is the kind of moves he needs to use to get back in the game. There are some strops here as well, and he might be able to get... The strops are getting routed into the back position. The T-62s are actually being forced back. He's actually going to start microwaving away, and boom, they're all dead. And that's the kind of mistakes that G.Loomes cannot be making. And now this push that was a killer is no longer a killer. The flank was in fact successful, but here we go. We have lots of these crazy infantry fighting vehicles combined with cavalry tanks, which are restocking, and this position is actually wiped out, completely wiped out. The command armor is gone. The Smirch is getting pulled back to this position here, and suddenly G.Loomes, or Angry Squirrel, sorry, is back in the shitter, and by that I mean that he is not doing very well at all. Losing that command armor was a pretty big deal. And here's a funny little thing: the ASU is actually a flamethrower vehicle. If he runs these through, he could be in trouble. The command armor in the middle is actually completely not invulnerable, it's completely vulnerable, and helicopters are going to pick off these Scots as they get away, so you can't do any sneaky play. This is just really appropriate use of helicopters. They're a skirmisher vehicle. He has to pull them back though before the drop happens. Of course, the drop happens, he will guaranteed lose one. And here we go, the drop has happened. He's pulling them back a little bit late, and looks like we see a little bit of spiraling, but no, he will actually keep them. Another flank of infantry coming in from the side. He's gone into low firing mode for extra damage, and he's actually able to snipe them all out. And he continues to micro them very effectively, and looks like, yes, we're going to see a towel thrown in by Angry Squirrel, realizing that he is in fact being beaten by the Woodpeckers, the clan that G.Loomes is a part of. And a victory! G.Loomes moves on to round 5. Which should be starting around today or tomorrow, and we'll have coverage from soon. But for now, we'll be looking at the leftovers. Congratulations, G.Loomes. Let's see what you do in round 5, which will be much harder, much more competitive. Thanks for watching.